see what we have up for you next. Who remembers this? Here we go again with animals. So let's learn about this obscure 60s show that I enjoyed when I was a kid. Daktari, again, ran for a few seasons, 66 to 69, for a total of 89 episodes. And let's give you the storyline here. Dr. Marsh Tracy was a veterinarian running an animal study center in Africa. Helping him were his daughter Paula, American Jack Dane, and Mike, a local. Also living with the Tracys, and equally a part of the show's starring cast, were a cross-eyed lion named Clarence and a chimp named Judy. This is not a documentary show, even though it's, it kind of makes it look like it is. And this is interesting to me because there's a section here on IMDb for taglines for shows. And this says, where did that go? The wild jungle fills with action as an animal MD tries to tame it. Marshall Thompson stars in color. The jungle's great for adventure. In fact, it's wild. That's a tagline for the show. And now let's see some did you knows. Clarence, the cross-eyed lion, and Judy, the chimpanzee, both won Patsy Awards for the series. I don't know what a Patsy Award is, but I'm guessing it's for animals that star in filmed things. When Ralph Helfer and Marshall Thompson had a guest star on this show, they would tell him three things: don't make a sudden movement, don't make a loud noise, and don't approach the animal until someone who knows more than you do has read him and knows what mood he's in. I mean, those are words to live by, right? If you're dealing with jungle animals. Originally, they wanted Ralph Helfer's own daughter, Tana Helfer, to be the little girl in the pilot episode because she was able to ride their zebra Folsom around so well. But Tana hated acting. Daktari, the word Daktari is Swahili for doctor. The hippopotamus, which appeared uncredited, was portrayed by Lou. In 2023, at 62 years old, so that's when this trivia thing was last updated, he is still alive and resides at the Ellie Schiller Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park in Florida. How interesting is that? Lou was so beloved by locals that he was made an honorary Florida citizen by Governor Lawton Childs at the time. Oh, that's fun. All right, so the stars of this show, the human stars, anyway, of this show were Marshall Thompson. Now, Marshall Thompson is the guy that I referenced earlier that was in 7 episodes of Science Fiction Theater. There's a small world coincidence, right? So we already talked about him, or did we already talk about, I think we only talked about the host of that show, though. Marshall Thompson was born in November 1925 and died in May of 1992 at the age of 66 due to congestive heart failure. Again, somebody you would have seen in lots of stuff. It looks like his most recent acting role was in 1991, so he didn't do things, what I would call recently, but he did do things for a long time after this show, and for sure a long time after the Science Fiction Theater show. Cheryl Miller, who played Paula Tracy instead of Tana Helfer, who didn't like acting, was born February 4th of 1943, is still alive today. Most recent acting job, though, was in a series called The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, where she played Jennifer in 1 episode. So, again, not anything real recent for her. Judy the chimpanzee. That's so cute when I see these animals that are, in the little actors category. But it doesn't tell me how old she is or if she's still alive or not. But it does tell me that she was in a few episodes of The Magical World of Disney. around the same time that this show aired, and in a bunch of episodes of a show called Jambo, where she played herself. She's in, oh my goodness, the Beverly Hillbillies. Judy is the monkey in the Beverly Hillbillies. So Ellie Mae, for part of the show, had this pet monkey that she carried around. That was Judy. Oh, how fun. Well, it shows here that she played several characters on the show, but right away I'm thinking of the monkey that Ellie Mae had. Wow, that's funny. She's in the movie Dr. Dolittle, the 1967 movie. Lost in Space, Green Acres, The Addams Family, Flipper, The Munsters, Mr. Ed. Oh, how fun is that? And then Clarence the Lion is the next one. We'll just look at him and then we'll go on to the next show on my list of shows. Clarence was an actor known for Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion, which came out in 1965, and then this show, Daktari. He died on July 14th, 1969, July 14th, 1969, in Peoria, Illinois. It doesn't say when he was born, though, does it? I'd love to have known how old he was. Okay, so that's it for Daktari. Let's see what we got coming up next. You got the little sneak peek when it ran over into the next. Although, do you know what the show is based on that little snippet of the person that you saw that opens the next intro? Do you?
Good evening. So nice of you to join us.
So this is Family Affair, which ran from 66 to 71 for a total of 138 episodes. It'll be interesting to see how many, if any, of the stars of this show are still with us, because I know at least 2 or 3 of them are not. This show's storyline is that Bill Davis is a highly paid and successful engineer living in a large apartment in New York with his valet, Mr. Giles. Oh, Mr. Giles French. Mr. French, yeah. His life is suddenly changed when his niece Buffy shows up. In the midst of deciding what to do, Buffy's twin brother Jody shows up, and Bill must leave for Peru. Once he leaves, Buffy and Jody's older sister Sissy shows up. Bill and French's life is suddenly changed as they become surrogate parents for the 3 children. So I can tell you that even though I watched this show, it's been a while. It is available on a lot of the streaming services if you want to check it out. And I love Brian Keith, Sebastian Cabot also, which you likely, now that you've seen him, you'll recognize from some other projects. I can tell you that I didn't realize that was the premise of the show. In my mind, it was always that Brian Keith's character, like his wife had died or something, and he had his kids there. I didn't even realize they were just nieces and a nephew. But, isn't that funny? So again, I'm learning right along with you guys. So that's the premise of the show. We'll do a little bit of trivia about it. Very often, Buffy was shown with her Mrs. Beasley doll. You guys remember that? And that doll was so popular because of this show. Did I have one of those dolls? I don't remember if I had one of those dolls. But I think every little girl wanted one of those dolls. That became the highlight of the show so much, a line of replica Mrs. Beasley dolls was launched. It sold well and continued to for years after the series cancellation. That's probably worth a pretty penny right now if you still have a Mrs. Beasley doll. Sissy, Buffy, and Jody were living in Terre Haute, Indiana, where Bill and his brother grew up before moving in with Bill and French. Producer Don Feddersen insisted that the character of Buffy remain perpetually 6 years old, even as Anissa Jones, the actress playing her, grew into her teens. In promotional appearances, Jones was still required to bind her chest and carry the Mrs. Beasley doll. That's just silly to me. This dehumanizing treatment is thought to have contributed to Jones feeling too typecast to continue her acting career. This discouragement also contributed to her dissolute behavior in her teen years until she died of a drug overdose at the age of 18. So I already alluded to the fact that I knew at least 2 or 3 of the people on this show were no longer with us. As her mistreatment as a child actor not allowed her to act true age, became public knowledge, there's some words left out there, it became informally accepted from then on in Hollywood that all child actors in live action roles must be allowed to grow up normally and have their characters reflect that progress. Thank goodness that we eventually learn from others' mistakes, right? At least for the most part. Not everybody, and not everybody learns from their own mistakes, but how sad. In the episode where Buffy broke her leg, Anissa Jones had really broken her leg, and the writers came up with the script for the episode that day, or in one day. Interestingly, the show was set in the same television universe as My Three Sons and To Rome with Love, due to the fact that all three shows were produced by the same production company. In fact, the characters of Mr. French, Buffy, and Jody made a crossover appearance on To Rome with Love. However, none of the cast from Family Affair ever appeared on My Three Sons. Do you know that show, My Three Sons? Okay, there's the trivia for the show. And now let's look at our actors. So Brian Keith, again, love him, and he's in that Rare Breed movie that I told you, that Western, that's like my favorite Western. He was born in November of 1921 and died in June of 1997 at the age of 75 due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I can tell you that he is, I think he's related to David Keith. Isn't that right? I think he's related to him. I might have to look that up some other time. So that was Brian Keith. How sad. And then the girl that played Sissy, the older sister of the twins, Buffy and Jody, Kathy Garver, was born in Long Beach, California. It does not give the year that she was born. This is a relatively new thing at IMDb. I mean, I've only noticed it in the last few years. It used to be you could go and look up any, actor, actress, character, and it would tell you the year they were born. And I would think, I would want to be proud of my age, especially some of these people that are, kind of iconic in some of their roles, but not everybody wants their age out there. So I don't know how old she is, but she's older than I am. I can tell you that. So I might have to look that up too, just out of curiosity. So she's still around. It looks like her most recent acting job, this isn't an acting job. She did a podcast series called The Fantastic World of Hannah and Barbera with Greg Ehrbar back in 2023. And then she was a character named Gloria Mavis Jackson in a project called Old Man Jackson in 2023. So she's staying active in entertainment. Again, Anissa Jones, that was the little girl twin in the show, was born in March of 1958 and died in August of 1976 at the age of 18 due to a drug overdose. And then the twin brother, Johnny Whitaker was his name. He was born December 13th of 1959. Let's see, so he's still around with us. Last did a couple of episodes of a TV series called The Last Evangelist in 2024. Was a guest on a TV series called Idle Chat in 2021. So still doing a little bit of acting. I know I've seen him in some other stuff, but I mean, not that recent stuff. I don't recognize those things, but kind of sad to think that, Anissa Jones probably could have gone on to still be acting today. And I'm looking for Sebastian Cabot. Here he is. So Mr. French, the valet, was played by the one and only Sebastian Cabot. A voice, I think, that anybody would recognize. He was born in July of 1918 and died in August of 1977 at the age of 59 because of a stroke. All right, and let's see what we have coming up. Media player doesn't have a good advance button. Oh, let me do a shout out to Eric and Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch, because this show just came up in their live stream last week. So I want to first bring attention to the fact that out of all of these shows, we had Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom that ran for 25 years, 591 episodes, I think. Did you happen to catch the number of episodes for this show? So this show ran for 5 years, 1966 to 1971, for 1,200 episodes. This was like a daily soap opera, in essence. And my parents were both big, like, horror fans. Dracula was a favorite. And so that's why this show would have ever even been on in my house. But I grew to love it. And a big part of, my list of favorite movies is horror stuff. Dracula, Wolfman, stuff like that. So this show was very popular, probably considered a cult classic at this point, and wow, that's a lot of episodes in a short period of time. So I don't even know how any of the actors in the show would have been able to stand if it went on any longer, if they were that busy in just the short span of time that the show was on the air. So the storyline for the show is, this is the story of Dark Shadows, which begins with newly hired governess Victoria Winters arriving at Collinwood, the Collins' estate in Collinsport, Maine, in search of her mysterious origins. She soon is caught up in the strange events and mysteries that seem to surround the Collins family. Eventually, the Collins' cousin from England, Barnabas Collins, I was a big Barnabas Collins fan, arrives and takes the show in a new direction. His vampire curse introduces a new history of the Collins family. Part of this revised history is the popular character of the witch Angelique, whose jealousy led to the tragic death of Barnabas's great love, Josette, and who placed the curse upon Barnabas. Now, I haven't seen the show in eons, so I can't tell you that I really remember much about any of the episodes. I remember some of the characters. Again, I was a big Barnabas Collins fan because I just, again, grew up in a house where vampires were like a beloved thing. And his character's very melodramatic and very, very vampire. I mean, there's a lot of newer vampire shows that maybe they're not like that, but back in the day, he was just quite the vampire. So let's do some trivia about the show. There is someone that starred in this show that you'd probably be a little bit surprised about. So the character of Quentin Collins was created at the request of Jonathan Frid, who played Barnabas Collins, who asked that a second villain be brought in to lighten his workload. For more than a year and a half, the characters of this show used almost every possible phrase to refer to Barnabas Collins. He's not alive. He's one of the undead. He walks at night, but he ain't alive. It wasn't until the 410th episode, that the word vampire was used on the show. Originally, David Selby donned fake sideburns for the role of Quentin Collins, but eventually he grew his own, so he would no longer have to endure the makeup. Yeah, you'd think that would kind of be a no-brainer. Well, I guess he might not have wanted to go every place with him. In an interview with writer Ron Sproat, he and fellow writer Gordon Russell had just met with the show's creator Dan Curtis, where they were given the news that a vampire would be added to the show. After the meeting, the two writers were on an elevator, and it was at that moment that they decided that Barnabas would be a reluctant vampire with a conscience. It was the right decision, as Barnabas saved the show from the axe. They kept him on as the lead when he was only supposed to be around for a few episodes. This, incidentally, made Barnabas Collins the first example of a sympathetic vampire seen on screen. The producers planned to run the 1897 storyline for 3 months, but it was so popular that they ended up expanding it to 8.5 months. So again, I wouldn't have remembered that Jonathan Frid, Barnabas Collins' character, wasn't on the show from the beginning, and that B, that he was a sympathetic vampire. I wouldn't have remembered that. That's been too long. I just remember that I loved the show, and it definitely fits in that, maybe not as common or possibly forgotten. Okay, so let's look at our actors. So Jonathan Frid, Barnabas Collins, born in December 1924, died in April 2012 at the age of 87 from complications from a fall and pneumonia. Okay. The Ducks and Geese want some screen time here. Grayson Hall played Dr. Julia Hoffman. And I don't know that I know her from anything else, but we can look at her credits and see. She was born in September of 1922 and died in August of 1985 at the age of 62 due to cancer. I'm looking for one person in particular because, again, I think you're going to be surprised that this person was on the show. Okay, we'll look at one more top character. Alexandra Isles, who played, well, her name is mentioned, I think, when I read the storyline for the show. She played Victoria Winters, and she was born in February of 1945. She's still alive and kicking. Last appearance, though, was Dark Shadows. That's all she's ever done. Oh, well, this show's before Dark Shadows. She did a show called Certain Honorable Men. It doesn't give a number of episodes, so I don't know if she was just in one episode or if the show wasn't very long. Oh, a TV movie, maybe it said. Nancy Barrett, Carolyn Stoddard. Okay, I'm looking for... I was very surprised to learn this. So I'm just scrolling through the actors right now. Okay, I'm just going to type her in because I want to verify. Well, I mean, I know she was in the show because when I first learned about that, I went and pulled it up and saw a scene with her from the show. Okay, let's see. Yes. So Kate Jackson of Charlie's Angels fame was in Dark Shadows. Let me see how many episodes. 71 episodes in 1970 and 1971. And I think she was maybe Barnabas's girlfriend in the show or something, if I remember right. So that's all we'll do with Dark Shadows. So let me close this. And let's see what we have coming up next. See if you remember this one. It's Animal again. Gentle Ben. Anybody remember that show? Oh my goodness, so many of these shows as I was growing up, you know, I would love to have had a pet lion, and I'd love to have a monkey, and I wanted a bear, and it's interesting to me to think about this show because I know this was like a trained bear, and I don't remember there ever being any stories about anything dangerous happening on the show, but I don't think this show would be made today. Let's just put it that way. So Gentle Ben ran for 56 episodes from 1967 to 1969. I don't know if you caught it or not, but Clint Howard, that plays the little boy that takes care of Gentle Ben, is Ron Howard's brother, real life brother. So the storyline for the show: the adventures in the Florida Everglades of game warden Tom Wedlow, his wife Ellen, their son Mark, and Mark's tame bear Ben. And again, if you notice, that's Dennis Weaver that plays the dad. Was McCloud, was that the name of his show? It was another show I watched. I guess I could have put that on the list. That's from the 70s. But we'll do some trivia for the show. We'll see if it maybe does talk about anything, any mishaps that happened with a bear. So Bruno the bear, who played Gentle Ben, also won a Patsy Award, just like Judy and Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion. The series was loosely based on a young adult novel also called Gentle Ben by Walt Moray. The novel was set in Alaska, but the series location was changed to Florida, where executive producer Ivan Tors owned a studio. This show was spoofed in Mad Magazine as Genteel Ben. All right, and let's check on our actors. Dennis Weaver, Born in June of 1924, he passed away in February 2006 at the age of 81 due to complications from cancer. Oh, wow. So he stayed acting until 2005. And I wanted to see, oh, this should tell me what he's most well known for. Yes, McCloud. So he was Sam McCloud in the TV series that ran from 1970 to 1977. I couldn't put everything here. You see how long this video's going already. And then let's look at Clint Howard. I don't think he looks anything like Ron Howard. That's so funny to me. He was born April 20th of 1959. Still alive and kicking. Very recognizable face. He last was Smokey in a project called Terrifier 3 in 2024. And appeared as Tom Star and another character, or maybe the same character, a different persona, just Tom, in the soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful, 13 episodes of that last year. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, one of the iterations of Star Trek I mentioned earlier, one episode of that in 2023. Lots. He's staying nicely busy. Not too many irons in the fire at once, but still active. Beth Brickell as Ellen Wedlow. It just says she was born November 13th, so we don't know what year. I would think she's, probably Dennis Weaver's. Well, no, because if he was, 62 when he died, way back when. Her last acting job was in 1980, so. But it doesn't have a date of death, so she's still around. That's good news. All right, and let's see. Bruno the Bear. Bruno the Bear was born in 1962 in White Lake, Wisconsin, USA. He was an actor known for The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean in 1972, Gentle Ben in 1967, and Mara of the Wilderness in 1965. He died in 1981 in Acton, California, USA. So he was only about 18. I would think bears live longer than that. But look at he was in an episode of Fantasy Island, Magical World of Disney, Adventures of the Wilderness Family, Starsky and Hutch, Shadow of the Hawk, The Waltons. He was a busy bear. That's awesome. Let's see what we have next. Y'all remember this? Maybe one of the craziest ideas for a show ever, but it was pretty popular, and Sally Field can do anything, so no surprise. I think she's an Academy Award winner, right? No surprise, because everything I've ever seen her in, she's unbelievably good. She becomes whatever character it is that she plays. But so the Flying Nun, 82 episodes that ran from 1967 to 1970. I'm not going to say I can remember why she was able to fly, but what a fun show. And it was just a silly, lighthearted thing. I don't remember there ever being any sad or serious episodes. It was supposed to be a comedy, and it stayed a comedy. But let's see what the storyline is. The large headgear on 90-pound novice Sister Bertrille of the convent Santanco in Puerto Rico enables her to fly in any stiff breeze. Her gift enables her to aid others whether they wish it or not. And here's some trivia for the show. In one episode, Sister Bertrille is looking at home movies of herself from when she was a teenager. The home movies were actually footage from Sally Field's previous series, Gidget. Sally Field has admitted that she disliked the scripts so much that she refused to read them. She would learn her lines right before shooting each scene by looking at the script supervisor's script. This is the first and only American television series to be set in Puerto Rico. Who knew? Again, as of 2023, or probably the last time most of these trivia pages were updated, Sister Bertrille comes from a family of doctors. She's the only member of her family not to go into medicine. In her 2004 interview with the Archive of American Television, Sally Field admitted she had little affection for either the series or her role as Sister Bertrille. I always certainly tried to do my best with it, but deeply didn't want to do it. It went for 3 years. It was hugely important. It was a hugely important time in my life because I learned a lot, because I didn't want to do it, and because I hated it every day. I hated the garbage. I felt it was just trivia that I had to say. With Gidget in 1965, there was some kernel of something real in it. It was the father-daughter relationship that I always could hang on, but there was nothing in the nun that I could make sense out of. It made no sense to me. It was just drivel. And people, when they hear me talk like that, they get very angry. Oh, I grew up with that. I loved it. Well, God bless Gesund that you loved it, but it was drivel and nonsense. There wasn't any piece of it that had any human behavior in it, and that bothered me, she continued. Madeline Sherwood, who played Mother Superior, recognized my depression and how difficult it was for me, and she recognized why, and she took me to the actor's studio. I didn't know that's where I needed to be, and it came a huge turning point in my life. How funny. Again, what a crazy premise for the show, but it's beloved. So let's look up some individual info on these actors. Sally Field was born in November of 1946, still alive and kicking, and most recently was Betty in a project called 80 for Brady. That was in 2023. There's some 2022 stuff, some 2020 stuff. So let's see. There's a section here for awards. I want to find, where are the awards? She's won 2 Oscars. So let's see what those Oscars are for. In 2013, she was a nominee for a supporting role in Lincoln. In 1985, she won the Oscar for Best Actress for the movie Places in the Heart. And in 1980, she won the Oscar for Best Actress in the movie Norma Ray. Not that I keep up with the Oscars, but she is a brilliant, brilliant actor. How sad to do such an unhappy role for her. So Marge Redmond, I don't know where I know her from, but I know her from somewhere, was born December 14th of 1924, died February 10th of 2020 at the age of 95 due to natural causes. Madeline Sherwood, that's the one that took Sally Field to the actor studio that she referenced in that little excerpt from the interview she did, was born November of 1922, died April of 2016 at 93 years old for undisclosed reasons. Alejandro Rey, he was kind of a sex symbol back in the day, y'all. Was born February of 1930, died May of 1987 at only 57 years old. That's never a good thing. Due to lung cancer. I mean, smoking and drinking were all the rage back then. Let's see. Yeah, those are the primary people that were in the show. So we've got a few more of these. We're back to sci-fi. Land of the Giants. Anybody remember that? I know when I was going over my list with Richard, this was one of the ones I think that he said he didn't know that one at all. He did not remember that one at all. Ran from 68 to 70 for 51 episodes. I think this may be another Irwin Allen show. When they mentioned it earlier, was it an Irwin Allen show? And the storyline of the show is The Spindrift, a suborbital spaceship on a flight from Los Angeles to London. I stumbled on that suborbital because they spelled it Orbital, suborbital. A suborbital spaceship on a flight from Los Angeles to London became lost when it passed through a strange cloud in the ship's orbit around Earth. It landed on an alternate Earth-type planet where the inhabitants were roughly 12 times the size of the Spindrift's passengers. Our heroes include the ship's captain, who was played by Steve Burton, co-pilot Dan... Oh, not played by Steve Burton. I guess the captain's name is Steve Burton. I don't know why they put it in parentheses. Co-pilot Dan and stewardess Betty. An arrogant engineer, Mark, a sexy jet-setter, Valerie, a young boy, Barry, and his dog, Chipper, and a mysterious rogue known as Commander Fitzhugh. That's the guy with the gun that you saw. Together, they battle the planet's totalitarian government, try to avoid capture, and attempt to respare the Spindrift so they can get back home. Maybe it sounds like a crazy idea, but golly, I loved that show. Okay, so some trivia. At the time of its debut, this was the most expensive show produced on television. Maybe that's why they asked Irwin Allen to trim his budget on Time Tunnel. The props used in this show, such as the computers and guns, were also used in Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and Batman. Yeah, that must be what it is, because that same trivia is in the Time Tunnel list of trivia. In Wild Journey, which aired in 1970, Steve and Dan travel back through space and time to before they left Earth, and they attempt to change history by persuading any one of their passengers not to take the fateful flight. Stefan Arngrim, Barry Lockridge, had entered puberty and could not reprise his younger self, so a body double with face obscured was used. Now we can do everything with AI and CGI. Although it's supposed to be another planet, nameplates visible on cars and trucks on the show clearly indicate they were manufactured by Chrysler Corporation, the automaker contracted with the series studio at that time. That's funny. Throughout the run of the show, the actors and actresses performed their own stunts, and stunt doubles were rarely used unless it was absolutely necessary. And a lot of great film techniques, forced perspective, and however they did that to make these, regular sized people look like tiny people. Okay, so let's look at our actors. Gary Conway, who played Captain Steve Burton, was born in February of 1936, still alive as of this last update on the page, and last appeared in a movie called Woman's Story as David Merritt in 2000. Let's see. Don Matheson. Let's see. He was born in August of 1929 and died in June of 2014 at the age of 84 due to lung cancer. Wow. Stefan Arngrim, the one that was too old to reprise his younger self when they went back in time, was born December 23rd of 1955, so he's still with us. Last appeared in an episode of Fargo, the TV series, back in 2015. Don Marshall, who played Dan Erickson, was born in May of 1936, died in October of 2016 at the age of 80 as a result of natural causes. We'll look at one more actor here. And then Deanna Lund was born in May of 1937 and died in June of 2018. Due to pancreatic cancer. She was 81 years old, and her last appearance was back in 2017 in a TV movie called Fox David. Foxxx. I think I know what that's supposed to mean. All right, one more part to get it all finished up. I do hope you're having a good time. It's been really fun for me to think back on all these old shows and put together some clips for you so that I can either introduce you to them for the first time or refresh your memories if they are shows that you remember enjoying back in the day. So we'll be back again tomorrow for part 4, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much again for hanging out with me. I love you all. Be safe, be happy, be well, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.